Yes, folks, what we saying? Welcome to Instagram Live, bruv. So, I've got something in particular that I want to talk about. Regardless of if it's an Instagram Live, or I could have just done it as a normal video. I don't know how good of a job I'll do at explaining it, but here we go. Anyway, so for me personally, I haven't really been as open on my social media as I have been in the past, somewhat, where I used to just be like a completely open book, and I would just share everything from a radically honest perspective. Um, and, you know, a lot of the reason why I had that approach, a kind of a liberating approach of just completely authentically having nothing to hide. And it's kind of hard, like, because half the time my ego wants to delete half of the stuff I've uploaded. I have to sacrifice my ego in order to be who I am online because I'm I'm always cringing at my own content, uh, and part of me wants to take it down. I've been familiar with this for a long time though. Like I started making music when I was 16, and I I was insecure about the music I was making to the extent that I actually deleted a lot of it, and I can't actually recover some of it now. It's gone forever. So I've learned to just kind of leave my ego at bay and to stop because the ego comes and goes, especially as I dabble in psychedelics. I can make a video while on psychedelics and I can upload it. And then when the psychedelic wears off and my ego reconstructs, my ego can potentially want to take the video down. And because of this back and forth phenomena, I have just decided to kill my ego in that dimension where if I didn't kind of kill my ego, I wouldn't be able to be who I am on the internet because my ego is always trying to come in and edit stuff in a way. So there's that. But so why have I been radically honest and kind of like an open book from the get-go? Um, I've actually spoke about this in like somewhat like recent lives on Instagram. There's two recent lives on Instagram where I speak about this. Kind of I say like, oh, the way that I am on social media may seem strange to a lot of you from the outside in potentially. Um, and I decided to bring up this example of a guy called No More Cocaine Shane. This guy really struggles with his addictions, and he relapses every now and then. He's trying to get better, he's trying to get healthier, he's trying to overcome his addiction and his demons and his problems. Um, and all he does, you can find him on Instagram, and I recommend you do go check him out, it's quite interesting. He will come on Instagram every now and then, like I am right now, and he will just give an update on how he's doing and if he is keeping his head above the water or not. If he's struggling with his depression and his addictions, and it's kind of like he kind of like you can see how somebody like that is quite an open book because he's going through his struggle and he just kind of openly shares because that is actually it kind of gets to a point where it's like the best that they can do, where he's so absorbed in his problems and his addictions that he's almost lost himself many times. So it's almost like, what more has he got to lose in a way? So he puts himself out there on social media and tells people how he's doing, and he just gives an honest, open update on his situation. Um, So it's people outside. So see, at that point, if he's struggling that bad, you see, it's almost like the little value he can provide is what he does on his social medias. Maybe where he's already really struggling to keep his head above the water as it is. So it's almost like you may as well, at that point, try to. Because what I'm saying is, the reason I bring that up is for me, I have had a history of struggling to keep my head above the water, dealing with like depression, and that's been like consistent since I was like 14, 15, 16, and it's only really kind of got more intense over time. Like I'm not always like in a depressive mood or episode or something, but it seems like it did get more intense over time, where like it was already unbelievably intense when I was 16, dealing with depression, but somehow it got much more intense over time. But it wasn't always, it was like ebb and flows, where like what I mean is like I would have like periods where like I'd feel better for a few months and then I'd have a really tough few months, and it would ebb and flow like this, and it's like literally all I've ever known is like this mental kind of like battle almost of like of the depression of trying to keep my head above the water and trying to maintain a healthy positive mind state. So like it got more in, like the episodes got more intense over time, but not inherently the consistency of the depressive episodes. But it did get tougher, but it's hard to define what exactly is the root of it sometimes, because also like when I was younger and I first started experiencing depression, I was still under the care of my parents, and I was only just getting my first job when I was 16 in fast food at Subway, which is a red flag. But now it's very different, where like, I've moved out since then. I did have my own flat, which I don't have anymore, but like I'm familiar with, like I've been on the road, I've had my moped license, I've been paying my own bills. So everything's changed a lot, but the depression still follows. But yeah, I'm just saying, like I don't know, like because a lot of my kind of pain can stem from these days is because I struggle with my survival situation and my financial situation. Um, Partly because I've stopped working recently quite a bit, but when I am working, the job becomes a source of depression for me often. Where like when I'm like fully locked into a 9 to 5, I struggle to deal with that. And everyone's brainwashed, and the New World Order is crazy. So recently, I took a step back. I do just need to find a healthier job, because I've only really worked in like warehouses where there's LEDs and the radio and everyone's drinking energy drinks. I used to be a bin man. A lot of these jobs are very toxic as well. Toxic air, polluted air, dust like that you're breathing in, just chemicals and garbage like that, paint, exhaust, fuel. I used to work on the forklift in a builder's merchant, and physical jobs are much more healthy for me, I feel, where yeah, I find that if I work inside underneath LEDs with no sunlight and the radio's on and I'm talking to a robot in a headset or something, that shit literally gives me a fucking mental illness. Like, there was this warehouse job I had not long ago, and there was this sensor, and every time I walked past this sensor, it'd go beep, 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 and it's like, it was annoying as fuck, and it's like literally like, I just don't sit well with me, this Babylon syntheticness. Anyway, why am I saying that? Sorry, I'm dancing around a bit. Sorry if I don't if it's not the best, but I'm just going to articulate these ideas anyway. Taking a bit longer than I kind of expected, but all I'm saying is I've struggled with depression to keep my head above the water for as long as I can remember, on and off. And what I mean by that is I've become more familiar with what it feels like to be underneath energetically compared to on top energetically. What I mean is, like, you can be like on top of your game or you can be underneath your game. And I realized that I have spent probably like more than half of my living time underneath the game, whereas it's actually a feeling, it's a vibration that you are on, where you're not doing breath work, you're not like centered in your incredible powers and your meditation, and you're not. It's like, what it is you got too much screen time, you're tossing and turning, you're eating fake food, and basically it's like there's like demons in the mind that start like telling you negative things, and it's like basically it can either feel like you're kind of under the weather or over the moon. And what I'm mainly talking about here is I was just journaling a little bit, and one of my main goals and one of the main projects I want to start and to gain momentum with, and I would appreciate your help to try and cultivate a new kind of community or accountability calls that we can hop on maybe daily or weekly. And what that is for me, an important step for me is I need to learn to keep my head above the water, because I really struggle with that. So I told you at the start of this live that I haven't really been sharing as much of how I used to come at this, where I'd be an absolute open book and I would just tell you everything from an honest, authentic perspective. And like I was saying with the cocaine Shane, is a lot of that radical honesty, it actually stems from despair. And what I mean by that is I've been drowning for most of my time here on Earth, and what I mean by drowning is I have not had my head above the water. Most of the time I'm in pain, mental pain, I'm suffering, and it's been very extreme, to the point where like I shut down, I do not take care of myself, and somewhat more as of recently, as I am expected to grow up and take charge and self-responsibility, I really am seeing how my own depression and my own darkness is actually negatively affecting the people around me. And it's not a good feeling, because I really started sinking under. I had a really tough winter this winter, and I haven't really spoke about much of this. Like, I'm telling you, I had a really hard time this winter, and I haven't spoke about much of this at all on social media. I don't really know why. I've just kept it under, but partly why is because I don't want to be a fool. If I completely give all of my life details away onto my social media, it's like I'm literally giving everything up to the AI and the artificial intelligence, kind of. But also, I'm aware that I likely have enemies, or what I mean is people would love to exploit other people, and I'm putting an awful lot of trust in many things if I'm just gonna vent here. Like, I just got an idea while I was venting a bit then about my jobs, is I wonder if I could almost like, I wonder if there'd be any value in nearly creating like a therapy thing where I could just vent and just vent. Like, I'm almost venting right now, and it's like if anyone could relate, then they could talk. And like, you know what? I might do it in a way, because the only reason I would be conservative about like not sharing too much in a way, because I don't really care. But I would be conservative because I know that it can be kind of foolish to just completely overshare on the internet. However, I did already start doing that. Like basically, like part of the only reason why I do these videos that I do like this on this live, part of the only reason why I do these is because I've been doing it for like 2, 3 years. I started doing these talks, and now I'm just like, now there's like this expectation that I keep it up because I'm not going to delete everything. I've already basically decided to be some form of public intellectual, and it's either I can just delete everything and just become a music artist or something, or I'm going to keep this up. So it's like I've kind of like I've signed myself and set myself up for this now because I've already done so many talks of this nature. I feel like I've already fucking done, like, I don't feel like there's any turning back. It's kind of like a lifelong thing now that I'm going to be sharing. From an honest perspective, is a lot of it is. I think it's quite interesting as well. And like at the beginning, I didn't have any reason to hide it. Where it was I felt like everyone could do with being radically honest. Where instead of crafting a cool character and looking like an artist that's really like meticulously like crafted the way that I'll be perceived. Instead of doing that, why don't I just come from a honest place? And it's honestly where my incarnation stems from. Like, I'm literally being as honest as I can when I'm on these videos. Like, why would I have anything to hide? Did I even ask to incarnate? And that's where I'm kind of stemming from. It's just like radical honesty, and I almost don't know where to draw the line because I don't know if I should draw the line. It's like if I just radically, honestly share from my perspective, why would I have anything to hide in a way? It's kind of liberating. It's quite freeing, actually. And I kind of miss being in touch with that because I've definitely slowed down over time. But yeah, I just honestly share and give like updates on thoughts. How old is it? It's new. It's right now. Wagwan, bro. Yeah, I'm just giving some updates on that. I'm just talking about learning to keep my head above the water, and also for you guys as well. Is let me try and What do you mean, bro? What the fuck? What? It's because I shaved this off. So, what was I saying? Yeah, so a lot of why I can not care about being radically honest and shit and almost oversharing is like, for me, my kind of depression and darkness, when it does come, I look younger. Yeah, it's because I shaved my beard off, bro. I got rid of like but yeah, like, so I've dealt with on and off depression, and so what I'm saying is, like, it almost is liberating because, like, times would get, like, so dark in a way that, like, you don't care anymore in terms of, and this isn't all the time, it's just, like, it comes in waves, but it's given me this, like, where, like, the only like I had the strength to turn on the camera and be myself because I had already experienced so much darkness and depression that there was basically nothing worse than that. So why would I be scared to turn on the camera and just honestly talk about what I'm dealing with? And that's basically what I started to do from the beginning somewhat. So in that way, the darkness and the depression can almost be like a gift. If you understand that, I brought up the example of Cocaine Shane, or No More Cocaine Shane, and he deals with his addictions and he relapses on cocaine every now and then, and he just gives updates to the people on his social media and his family, and he just says like, "Hey guys, I'm feeling better today. I've been keeping up with my good habits, and yeah, I haven't done no cocaine for 3 weeks, and I'm feeling," and then he'll relapse, and then and then he'll come on and go like, "Oh guys, I can't believe I lost myself." Like, so this is somebody who's struggling to keep their head above the water, and they are reporting it to social media like this, and they're keeping a kind of a diary and a progress update. You see, because if someone is really struggling to that extent that they are losing themselves to an addiction or to their depression, you see, at that point, what do they have to lose? Why shouldn't they make an online diary? Why should they not speak about what they're dealing with? Because often the suffering and the despair of the depression can be so deep, and it can cut so deep that you're literally scrambling for anything to give you a fucking speck of a break from this like all-encompassing like pain, in a way. And like, I've been dealing with this depression on and off since I was like 14, 15, 16, and I'm 21 now, so it's been a long time. Um, and yeah, I feel like in a way it's almost been a gift in a way, because it's one, I feel that the care for truth can often stem from this depression and pain in a way, where like I only seek answers because I'm left in the dark. And that can lead you towards spirituality and research. For example, when I was really young, this is a core memory I have. I was researching when I was about 15, like, why am I depressed? And I found leads that were telling me that diet has a lot to do with depression. Serotonin is produced in your gut, for example. You see, so my depression actually, on the surface, it seems like a bad thing, but it actually led me to knowledge and wisdom, because the depression was painful. Therefore, I kind of wanted to move away from it, so I would try to find other leads. And even talking about things on the internet could be one of those leads, you see. So there's also a highlight on my Instagram that says, "You feel bad for a good reason." And this is quite relevant, where if you feel like bogged down, if you feel like depressed, if you can hear the signal correctly and hear the message in the signal correctly, then these kind of pain notifications can be just that. They're notifications where, for example, I was telling you just now that I was kind of feeling depressed, and then I went to research stemming from this depression. I was like, why am I depressed? And then Google told me that diet and health is very relevant to your state like this. And my parents didn't give me really any parental guidance, because the parents can't teach what the elders don't teach them. Basically, it was like, there's ignorance, NPCs, the Matrix is making my parents slaves, things like that. Anyway, so yeah, I went to research and it told me that. So, and then for example, if you feel like you have a headache or something, you see, you feel bad, and most people, they'll just feel bad and they won't deep it. But see, if you can hear the signal in the right way, then instead of just being like, "Oh, I've got a headache," it's like, it's a notification telling you to change. So when you feel bad, breathe, for example. So yesterday I actually got hit with quite an intense wave of like darkness, and I've managed to escape it today. I think this is probably helping me, but I felt it creeping back up on me. And it tends to come more in the night if I'm awake when it's dark outside, and I'm just like kind of stuck in this house a bit, and I'm I'm not really super ultra as healthy as I'd like to be right now, and I don't really have any money, so sometimes like there's not really much to fucking, if anything, there's not really anything to drink or eat, and if there is, it's fucking polluted, and I'm quite like concerned about my health in that way, where I have a kind of a paranoia about the quality of the modern food, for example. Anyway, so what I'm saying is, so yesterday I got, and basically this is how it happens. So, and what I'm saying here, the main thing that I'm saying is, for me, in order for me to get better and to move forward and to actualize any life purpose or to become proud of myself or to salvage oxen, I need to learn to keep my head above the water and to stop drowning. I need to learn to swim and stay afloat. Where last night I lost the battle of staying afloat and I kind of went under. What do I mean? It's just like, see, it can be kind of blurry, see, because I was also actually looking at quite a lot of screens. And this is what I'm saying, if I can tie it into what I was just saying, is so I started to feel bad last night, right? If I could have heard that signal properly, I could have turned off all the screens, I could have got up and went, if I had done that, then that is what I mean by feeling bad for a good reason, is that the signal that I was getting last night when I started to feel depressed and in pain, instead of hearing the signal properly, I just tossed and turned and I started to think suicidal thoughts and shit. Yo, Ryan, I'm talking about learning to keep my head above the water, not just mine, but I've dealt with depressive episodes my whole life, basically. I kind of had one last night, but yeah, I'm just talking about learning how to prevent these patterns from repeating, and just trying to learn from my mistakes. So like, I was saying how you can feel bad for a good reason, where like if you start to feel depressed or down bad, that could actually be a sign that you need to breathe more. Yesterday I had quite a hard night. I had like quite like an intense wave of like darkness and depression, and I'm getting these intrusive thoughts and shit, but I'm also looking at screens half the time, and when I put my phone down, I felt better. But I let this negative vibration go on for a good 4 hours, where I'm looking at screens half the time. I know that I'm trying to run away from this kind of pain that I'm feeling, and I'm getting negative thoughts, just being angry, just like getting frustrated at everything, kind of building up like a resentment at life, and like this is kind of what happened. This is kind of what happens, and I'm just saying, like, to try and learn to keep your head above the water, through many ways. For example, there's a video by actualize.org called "Awareness Alone is Curative," and this is what I'm doing now as I'm self-reflecting on the difficult night I had last night, and I'm kind of like trying to deconstruct it and learn from my mistakes. And today I'm doing a much better job at dealing with it because I'm being more meditative and aware and breathing and stuff. Someone said, do you find silence difficult? Yeah, I have done more recently, somewhat. I mean, I feel like I'm getting better at it now, but yeah, I have, over the past winter, I've definitely noticed this restlessness of trying to fill the void with screens, with coffee, with weed, and it's never enough, until you face the void. In a way, you can bury the void for as long as you want, but eventually you're gonna have to look at it or something. So I can find silence difficult, but it just depends on how I look at it. Where like, because yesterday I was feeling not good, but my phone actually died, And I felt better after my phone died. But there's this weird, like, you don't even know that you're on your phone half the time. Like, it's fucking stupid where it's like, you can be like unconsciously using these screens, um, where it feels normal to just kind of like chill, but it's like it impacts your fucking your thoughts and your psychology so much just even having it near you. Um, but you don't notice all the time um, how like if you check your phone or you constantly have it like near you and you keep looking over it, like to the extent that that can have a detriment on your mind because it's just distractions. Like when you open Instagram and stuff, it shows you a video before you even click on it. It starts playing audio at you and it makes me kind of angry at it in a way. It's like it's built in already. Yeah, the screens and that, like it's very automatic for a lot of people. Like you wake up and you go straight to your phone, and that is not good for your mental health. It depends, like, but for me, it's like a complete erosion of your ability to even fucking think properly, like because you don't even let yourself have a bit of like space and leeway. There's a video called "How Overstimulation is Ruining Your Life," and it's how we need to let these shower thoughts run through. Don't bury them by looking at screens and stuff. So, what am I saying here? So, I was talking about how you can feel bad for a good reason. So, yeah, if you. That's funny. I deleted Facebook. I installed it again times 10 subconsciously. Yeah, it's like when you go off Instagram and then you go straight back onto it, and you can catch yourself doing that. It's like you literally go into an app that you only just left. It's weird. So say you can feel bad for a good reason. So yeah, so if you're feeling kind of bogged down and low, if you do some breathing and some exercise, obviously that can make you feel better. So there you go. It's kind of interesting how you can feel bad for a good reason. For example, like pain. Pain tells you what to avoid. What about depression? Depression is a form of pain. Well, if you can be aware, like I said, awareness alone is curative. If you can kind of be aware of where the pain of the depression is kind of stemming from, then you can learn what to avoid. For example, if you get depressed when you eat toxic food, processed food, if you get depressed after looking at screens loads or watching porn or something, that's no different from learning to avoid a hot stove when it burns you. And I actually did that when I was really, really young. I what did I say? The hob was on the stove, yeah. And I said to my mum, like, I was like, I'm gonna touch it. I was probably like 5 or 4 years old. I don't know. And she was like, don't touch it. It's really hot. And I was like, I just want to see how hot it is, bro. And I learned the fucking hard way. Safe to say, I never touched the stove again from that point onwards. But you see, that's a child's mind, and I didn't know not to touch the stove until it burned me. And Leo Gura of actualize.org states that apparently there's rare disorders where some people do not feel pain, and they actually end up dying often in their early teens because they don't know what to avoid. But it's important that you draw the connection, you see. Because last night I was depressed and I was kind of like on and off looking at screens, and I was getting these subtle intrusive thoughts, like not that I was able to think them because I would just drown them out with watching screens or something, but sometimes, yeah, I can get proper like hurt and resentful, yeah, and last night, like even when the screens weren't on, yeah, I started getting these intrusive thoughts, like suicidal thoughts and shit, man. Like not that I actually would, but it's like they do come every now and then, where it's like I just end up saying like I just get frustrated at everything. I'm like fuck you, man. Like and then I literally start telling myself like I want to die and shit. I feel like fucking posting some dumb fucking immature shit, which is like respect for the people who don't actually vent their demons and that on the social media. Because like sometimes if I get like depressed and down bad, I'll like post some sad thing on my story. But some people are they don't do that somewhat, and I respect people who don't do that because other people don't need to hear it maybe, but also it might like I feel that people need to speak about their darkness more. Where I feel like people don't speak about it enough to the point where those going through it end up feeling alone, because it can be kind of like taboo where like people don't openly share like their darkest time. In fact, people hide it often. Um, Hi Jenna. Um, they can be vicious, bro. Things can really turn, and it isolates you. Yeah. Um, what you're saying, Jenna? You'll be good for. I really want to meet you, by the way, Jenna. In terms of like, I'm very interested in your healing process and journey. I need to get to know your whole shtick a lot more, but I don't. You don't have to stick around. But I'm talking here today. I'm just talking and kind of venting about. For me, I'm trying to journal and get to a place where I learn to keep my head above the water, where I've only recently come to recognize this difference between being kind of down bad and up good. And I've spent most of my life being down bad. You're mu free. I'm just talking about learning to keep our or my head above the water in terms of like depression and stuff. Yo. I don't expect any of you to stick around inherently, but yeah, I'm just saying that yeah, there's a feeling that I've come to recognize where like you can either be kind of like down bad and kind of under the game, so to speak, or you can feel like on top of the game and up good. And I feel I've spent like most of my life kind of being down bad, and it's like a vibration that you can feel, where it's like where you're actually not in your power. It's like yeah, here it is you're either dragging your feet as you walk, or there's like a spring in your step as you skip. That's what I mean. I hear you. I spent a long time there. This is why I preach about rising your life force. Yeah, this is what I'm really trying to speak about now. Yeah, is I think a really good song for what we're talking about here is Incredible Powers by Mr. Traumatic. And I would contrast that with like the sad stuff of like XXX Tentacion. Raising. Yeah. Yeah, gee, exercise, good food, and good vibes, bro. Yeah. It depends because it can be very, very different for a lot of people. But for me, I've described it as it's like a feeling of drowning. Um, I'm getting better, but I'm telling you, yeah, like I've literally like it's most of what I've known for a long time, and I'm learning to take self-responsibility and to self-reflect, and to see how I'm perpetuating this. But like, it's been for very since I was very young, like so I had like my first job. I was working in Subway in fast food when I was 16, and I wasn't awake really at that point. I was listening to the Matrix music and eating loads of garbage from fast food, and yeah, I I I remember I would walk out of that job like crying. Like I'd literally go out the back door just like pouring my eyes out and shit. The boss actually tried to take me to church a few times. He said he could see like the discontent like in my face. Um, I ended up pulling my parents to a side, and I told them, I'm like, I'm so depressed, I can't fucking do. I ended up leaving that job, um, and my parents tried to be there for me as kind of, but like they were still feeding me shit, um, and it was still Matrix. They were still going to work all the time. Um, you're facing the right direction, Jenna says. Like I said to you, bro, you're too hard on yourself sometimes. Yeah, just let yourself be and flow naturally, my guy. Yeah. I mean, I know that I am, yeah. I can be quite hard on myself. It's a tricky balance, but yeah, I appreciate what you're saying. Astro Snell, is that how you say it? Sorry, I've been neglecting saying your names because you got a strange name. I am familiar with you though. You've been following me for a long time, so I really appreciate everybody who's been giving me who's just interacting at all. Personally, it boils down to being alone. Born alone, die alone. It's a lot to deal with. People are connected, but it boils down to this realization that we are all alone together. Yeah, that's quite interesting, to be honest. It's like, I mean, what you're saying kind of like, it's like this recognition that, yeah, like you could never not be alone, kind of, where it's like you're always in this like solipsistic bubble where it's like it's always like one entity. It doesn't matter, like, you know what I mean, like you can't escape the kind of consciousness absolute, and that is like the self, I guess. I do hear what you're saying, like, that's quite a, I'll get back to that. That's quite an interesting one. The world is diseased, and it's hard for us sensitive souls who are here creating change. We're not really alone because we are all connected to source. Yeah, that alone thing is a very that's a very tricky one, like the solipsism thing. I'll get back into that. But so Jenna says the world is diseased and it's hard for us sensitive souls who are here to create change. Yes, I agree with that. I think sensitivity is actually a healing thing. 100%, yeah. Especially for me, I don't know who knows this about me, but like the main kind of like hinge or like linchpin for like my story is, quite frankly, I've only just got some distance from it, but I completely lost myself to magic mushrooms, where I was telling you how I was depressed when had my first job when I was 16. I was working in fast food, listening to the Matrix music and that, and like I was so depressed. I was walking out of this job, and I ended up leaving that job and whatever. When I heard and I come to grasp magic mushrooms through my research, I began to take them. I had a few kind of like mystical, interesting experiences. I then basically accidentally overdosed on 7 dried grams, and I had a very traumatic, like, terror trip where I was just alone. I was really young. I was still like depressed. I was still eating shit, and I took like 7 dried grams of Liberty Caps by myself, and I literally got like attacked by demons and like tore apart, and I was literally melting into the trees and shit, and like it was fucking, and but I was still doing mushrooms even after that, and I had another one of those. So that happened to me twice, and the reason I say that is when you say, Jenna, about being sensitive, is that I have like energetically like opened myself up through abusing magic mushrooms to the point where I am like so sensitive now, and I could be more sensitive if I stayed off the bread, like Inspector Veg was saying. But yeah, I'm just saying. But like, I think partly why I kept on doing them is because I was already kind of so depressed and so down that like there's this phenomena that comes kind of hand in hand with extreme depression and despair that is liberating, where you kind of you don't have anything to lose, kind of, where That's partly why I am an open book on my social media the way that I am, is because I was like so down bad that it couldn't hurt to just talk, just turn on the camera and just talk, because when you get like that, it's almost like there's nothing to lose. And that's also why I done so many psychedelics the way that I did, is because I was like, I almost like, yeah, when you're so like depressed and despairing for so long, um, it kind of like it can be liberating where um, for example, when I was really down a few years ago, I was not like loving myself, and I would do things like this. I brought some LSD and I had a test kit. I tested the LSD, it came back negative, so it was not LSD, and then I proceeded to take 7 tabs of this fake acid anyway. That's one example. That was about 2 years ago. And it kind of break my heart how little I respected myself, sort of. And I was doing such foolish stuff. Like even like 1 year ago, I took 12 tabs of acid while I was just out and about, like getting the bus. And I don't know who the fuck is doing that, because that's not me now. I don't know who is doing that. I would not take that like that now. You can there's a picture of me with 12 tabs of acid on my tongue. Okay, I'm catching up. 2 secs. Yes, hold on. Yes, Jenna, but this is all very well and said, but Baron's situation last night is the actual reality. At least we have each other to share with. This isn't a downer, by the way. Oh right, I'm with you. Yeah, I mean, the alone thing is a bit of a tricky thing. 2 secs. So Jenna said, I suggest an entity removal. Yeah, I agree. I did definitely mess with that, and I didn't know what I was messing with. Like, so yeah, I would take a lot of psychedelics, partly because I really cared about the truth as well, where like the idea that I could become enlightened through the psychedelics was a big reason for me to like go to them, in terms of there's a video on my YouTube called Why I Ignored Warnings About Psychedelic Abuse, and basically the way that I was coming at it is like, if I could have a like enlightenment synchronistic experience that proved and validated to me that I was indeed inside of a dream, then that would be like the key. Because so a lot of the depression that I'm talking about, that I've experienced throughout a lot of my life, actually stems from this, what I've recently come to call homesickness on an existential level. Is from a very young age, I've always really needed, like I've had this burning existential hunger of, if God is real, I need to know. If this is material paradigm, I need to know. Basically, that's like, and this has been like this main thing. And but even though those are just words, Alan Watts would say reality is. So I would do a lot of psychedelics because if I could validate that I was inside a dream that is like the mind of God, and it is more than the material paradigm, then that is like the ultimate, like if I could prove that to myself, then I'd be blessed. And I did, because I experienced like radical synchronicity, and I met God basically. But yeah, it's like it's kind of hard to explain, but yeah, like if somehow it became like, if the truth was the scientific material paradigm that I'm just a bag of meat and I'm just a fluke on a rock and it's all meaningless, like, those questions to me are so important because, like, I don't know how I deal with the reality of, like, the material paradigm. Like, there's a part of me that, like, ultimately I just want the truth. I don't want to project my bias onto the truth, but, like, if it is the material paradigm, like, what the fuck? That's like, whether, like, I need there to be like a meaning. That's what I mean. It's like I try so much in my life, like, you know what I mean? It's like you're born and then you chase this success and you try to be like good in that, and it's like, for what? Like I really kind of like pray that it amounts to something in the bigger picture. Maybe I shouldn't be like that. Maybe I shouldn't kind of like um but like the idea that this is material and that one day the matter will run down and that I will just forget all of this, like, it seems very cruel. And if that was true in a way, like, it makes me just kind of like want to fucking blow my head off nearly in some ways, where like I can't have it be that kind of cruel joke where it's like, you gotta tell me that there's some kind of overarching design or intelligent plan, that this isn't just a fluke. I need, like, a part of me needs closure. That's what it is. It's about tying the loose ends. It's about closure. There's no way that I can go through this much pain, this much like depression, and this long of trials and tribulations, and this entire incarnation. And you're telling me that I can just have an accident on a whim and just die in a car crash or some shit, and then it's just like game over. It's like, anyway. Sorry. Let me read the comments. I just tuned into your energy. They are having a field day with you. I will send you details so you can clear them. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Screenshotted it anyway. I don't know if I fully comprehend. Oh, hi Veg. Love you, Veg. Big up, bro. I didn't see you as in here, man. Yeah, big up, Veg. Big up, man. You're a good one, man. You mean good, man. You got Veg is always up. Veg is there for me sometimes when I'm venting and I'm being down bad. He's giving me advice. Big up, man. Ultimate love. Okay, hold on quickly. The question of life. It's on everyone's mind, bro. Don't question yourself for asking what the fuck is going on. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Jenna says, this is what a spiritual awakening looks like. Yes. Thank you so much, everyone, for the support. I'm just talking about Veg. You'll be happy to hear about this in a way. It's just what sort of is I don't know. Even though you don't like me being on social media, is all I'm talking about is just the overarching kind of like talk of this live is I was just speaking about. I want to like personally put an end to like these depressive episodes and learning to keep myself above the water. I don't know what each of you guys might have to say about your own personal battles behind the scenes, but if you're familiar with that kind of concept, where it seems like sometimes you don't stay afloat. You might have a really tough night, and for me, the main thing for me, if I want to kind of salvage my life and my social media or anything, is like I need to learn to keep my head above the water. And I've been venting to Veg a little bit in the DMs behind the scenes a while ago about how I'd been struggling with depression and despair and kind of feeling like I'm drowning. And yes, last night I had a bit of like a tough time, but I'm just reflecting now on how what I was saying is like often you can feel bad for a good reason, where like I was feeling kind of depressed and having a bit of like a depressive episode last night, but what I should have done is looked and turned all of the screens off hours ago, and I should go Well, I brought up Mr. Traumatic's tune called Incredible Powers. That's a really like, I feel like Incredible Powers by Mr. Traumatic is a song that slays depression. He's talking about freezing showers, incredible powers, impeccable energies, magical flowers, alchemical recipes, and that's what it's about. It's about stepping into your power. But what I'm saying is like, I've actually been like under the weather, where it's like I feel like I'm not keeping my head afloat above the water for like most of my life, to the point where it actually feels like eventually I'll end up getting a disease or something. I'm alright now, but that's because I'm doing this. But before I turned this on, I felt it creeping back up on me. This like, there's like this force that wants to make me drown. I've described it a few times as like, it feels like reality is trying to make me kill myself. I don't want to kill myself, but um, I don't know. I'm getting over a lot of it. A lot of it was the psychedelic abuse. I know Inspector Veg and Jenna Elevates has somewhat similar perspectives on things of that nature. Veg tried to warn me about the entity hijackers, and Jenna was just talking about that, and you guys were right. But I had to learn the hard way, kind of. But anyway, I feel I'm getting better anyway. But basically, like, this past winter, I have not had my head above the water like nearly at all. I'm telling you, I've been like kind of drowning and down bad for most of the winter. Um, and I really pray, and I feel, I intuit that as spring is coming around, that I'd love to spring into action. I'm not trying to be self-centered either. I'm not just venting about my own personal shit. It's just I would hope that there's maybe some value to anyone going through like-minded stuff, and I would like to gain some momentum with this and to try and get a conversation rolling. Maybe even like something like weekly community accountability calls or something. Hi, Katie. Um, so yeah, all I'm talking about is so is putting an end to the depressive episodes somewhat, and I'm talking for me personally, but also for everyone out there, is for those who are familiar with, just sometimes it's hard to keep your head above the water, so to speak, where it can feel like sometimes you kind of cave in or you fold in, and it can feel like you're drowning sometimes. Sometimes it can feel very painful, where sometimes it feels like you're just kind of like in the midst of like a sea of just like chaos, and you're not loving it. You almost want it to turn off, and it's just like you feel homesick, you want to go back to source. So yeah, I'm just saying, so for me, I think a main priority, I was just journaling, actually in a book that Katie gave me. I'll go get it for proof. I wonder if you remember giving me this, Katie. So yeah, Tunnel of Shadows, exactly. So what I'm talking is just like, I was journaling, and I was just saying how like I'm feeling very done with living this way, and I'm really hoping, and I intuit a change on the horizon just in time for spring. Here's a book. So Katie, or Quintessence, donated me this. It's just like a random book. It's just empty paper, but it's just saying, I'm focusing on now, if not the main thing, because you see, it's hard for me to focus on other things if the foundation is flawed. This is an important analogy. It's like, if you're building like a skyscraper, obviously you're going to need to get the foundation like perfect, otherwise the rest of it's going to be fucked. That's kind of how you can approach psychology as well, where I can't even remember somewhat what I was saying, but yeah, I'm just saying, like, just it kind of threw me off then, just getting up. Maybe I'll read this. Not in with the entity stuff. I think acid strong stuff can take your personality. Me too. I was 16. It was dumb. It closed my mind for sure. scared me and my ego. I'm not 100% sure everything you're on about there. Yeah, I mean, it can take your personality. I think I know what you mean, like, in terms of, like, that's what it did to me. It's like, like, psychedelics completely, like, eroded who I was. And, like, it was like a complete rebirth. But yeah, I was just saying, but yeah, for me, it's, yeah. So the foundation and the skyscraper analogy is just like, for example, some people like KT, for example, or Michael, who was in the chat earlier, Michael D'Souza, like, some people, they want me to write lyrics, which I actually thought of a lyric, by the way, KT, of the tune about worms. So I'm getting there, I'm writing. What was it? It was like, oh, I don't know, I can't remember. I thought of a really good bar though, that I'll put in the tune about worms that me and Quintessence are gonna do, I think. But for example, it's like, there's no point really in me trying to pursue writing lyrics or starting this project, starting that project, because if I can't even keep my head above the water, it's really hard to kind of keep those projects maintained. And this has actually been something that I've had for a long time, where it's like, I would actually start editing a video, and then like halfway through it, I would shut down into like a depression, and I wouldn't touch the video, and it would literally stay half edited for like half a year. And then when the depression finally subsided and I came back online, I'd go back to the video and be like, why the fuck did I leave this? Like, it's basically nearly done. And then I'd upload it like a year later than I expected. So that's what I'm saying about the foundation, and that's what I'm saying for me personally, is that, like, for me, that's the priority, is actually learning to have a strong mind, because most of my life I've been drowning and letting in all kinds of intrusive thoughts and low vibrations. And I've been kind of under the game, so to speak, for most of my life, on like an energetic vibration level, where I'm actually living in fear, and I'm actually kind of like, I'm almost like, I feel like I'm kind of like quivering like under life, where I'm like, please don't hurt me and shit, and I'm like, I feel like I'm in a blanket, like scared of the cold or something. But then the alternative is to fucking throw the blanket away and just face the cold and just go. And that's what I'm like trying to do, basically. Sorry, I kind of lost momentum a bit there. This was a good live, but when I got up, I kind of spiraled off a little bit. But I appreciate all of you. But yeah, that's all. Learning to recognize the triggers for depressive episodes, and learning to just be more aware, and to just prevent, like, for me, like, it's interesting, because like I was kind of drowning in those darkness and demons like the majority of my life, to the point where it's just normal and you don't even know what it feels like to actually be on top of your game. But now, like, when I can get on top of my game, I can almost see that darkness as something that isn't present right now. But I know that it's there, and I know that it's going to pull me back under again. So I can almost like be here in the present moment. And right now, I'm not spiraling into suicidal thoughts. I'm not screaming into my fucking hands and like building resentment at life. I'm alright right now. So what could possibly pull me under into that? I think a lot of it is actually the screens. Where if I spend a lot, if I just let myself be absorbed by screens all day, and I'm not breathing properly, slowly the demons creep in. And before I know it, I'm actually trapped in suffering, where like there's a part of me that like gets stuck in it, where I know that I can destroy it with breath work, but I avoid it. Like the demons actually want to survive. I don't know if it's the parasites as well. I definitely know that's very relevant. And yeah, that's a good one. You see, that's a very good one. I didn't think about that when I'm saying what could possibly pull me under into such a low vibration. Well, if you've got intestinal parasites, that's not even your choice. If they start fucking tossing and turning in there and start getting hungry, they all start fucking with you. I think that's what happened to me last night a bit, because I was struggling last night. But I was also looking at screens and shit last night. So I wasn't even letting myself think properly. And yeah, especially with the digital addiction, those who are familiar with how that can feel, it's like your dopamine gets hooked. Like if you spend an hour on a screen, it can actually be kind of hard to get off of the screen. It's like you have to readjust to what it's like to not have stimulus. So you actually kind of get stuck on the screen. And the withdrawal from the screen is actually like a drug withdrawal that can be kind of painful in a way. And you can avoid it, especially if you find silence difficult, as Astro Snell was saying earlier, kind of. I meant another way of describing entities attacking you would be trauma from hallucinating. No dark power needs to be at play. There's still experiences and thoughts from taking LSD. Yeah, what are you saying, Ryan? Do what? Sorry, I don't even know. Sometimes it's kind of hard with these comments sometimes. Yeah, sorry, Astro, I didn't mean to like neglect your comment above. So, yeah, I'm not saying inherently that entities are real. Like, it's kind of tricky. The whole thing about demons, and that even kind of dovetails with the aloneness of the solipsism. Yeah. Entities attacking you would be trauma from hallucinating. What a weird way to be traumatized, bro. I almost feel like it can be like a spiritual power to get traumatized by psychedelics. I'd rather be traumatized than psychedelics than be traumatized by just like some dickhead giving me a kicking. See you later, bro. Cheers for tuning in, bro. I don't know why I'm struggling with these comments right now. Like, I struggle to keep up with them. Yeah, I kind of get you. Yeah. No dark power needs to be at play. I hear you. Like, yeah, I don't know. The entity conversation is a bit of a weird one. I just think that, like, if you open yourself up energetically like that, it can be kind of dodgy, where, like, I used to be a lot more into some forms of, like, prayer that are almost forms of worship. I think I was quite naive and ignorant when I was doing things of that nature. And if I were to have taken a psychedelic when I was into that sort of stuff, it could have actually maybe fed into that more. I think things like that I can almost call like entity attachments a bit, where it's like if you start to like worship something, things like that can occur within people who dabble in a lot of psychedelics. I don't know if I'd call it entity attachment or what. I just think there's weird like the DMT machine elves in hyperspace. Are they the Archons? I have no idea, because the psychedelic states, like if you start talking about entities and like peak hallucination states, it's quite a tricky one now. I'm open to it. I just think the wacky stuff with no foundation is a bit overplayed when acid is just outright fucking people up. Yeah, I hear you. Sometimes I struggle to digest messages because I'm just a bit like blocky with my reading. So I feel like I need to be on the phone sometimes. I heard that last message, but like I feel like I'm neglecting your messages by accident because I'm just like struggling to fucking take them in properly. I don't know why. Sometimes it's just I've been drinking too much coffee and it just kind of like fries my brain. Coffee is weird. There's so many different states to coffee. Like it's not black and white at all. That thing will completely erode your mind as well. Yeah, I'm not sure, bro. I'm not sure. It's definitely weird. DMT more so, but acid is just a mess. Yeah, I'm not sure. See, a lot of people would probably I know a lot of people like Mr. Nature really likes acid and LSD. So there's a lot of conflicting information. Sorry, mate, we can call sometimes. I'm dyslexic, so it looks terrible. I don't know. It's probably not just you. Sometimes it's just hard because I'm like in the middle of talking about what I've run on about, and then I'm reading a comment, and it's like, don't know. God knows. Plus, it's tricky stuff to speak about, that sort of stuff, the psychedelic peaks. But anyway, I think for the most part, like I feel like I've lost momentum a bit. I really appreciate everyone for sticking around. I'm probably going to end it in a second. But yeah, that's it. I was just speaking, and I really want to gain momentum in a way where like I would like to stay in touch and develop a deeper connection with a lot of my kind of supporters, and I'd like to get into group chats more, and I mainly I want momentum where like I'd really like to get the podcast up and going again. I'd like to check in more in this honest way about how I'm doing and maybe if I'm keeping my head above the water or what I'm struggling with. I want to be more honest and kind of radically like an open book like I used to be, because I don't really feel like I want to hide much in this life, to be honest. I kind of get a lot of liberation out of being radically honest. But like, why would I have anything to hide? Only because devils can exploit me. That's why. It's because privacy is security. But that's not a problem with me, that's the problem with the devilry in the world. But yeah, oh yeah, I'm on 3%. Yeah, cool, man. Well done, man. Thank you for checking in. Thank you for staying on this live for quite a while. It's probably like an hour. But yeah, I'll just say like last thought is like, yeah, like I want to give like honest updates on how I'm kind of dealing and how I'm coping in a way. What was I going to say? You haven't got to stick around if I can even remember. Where it's like you end up spying on yourself, you see. That's a lot of what this digital stuff is. You end up spying on yourself. And I'm like giving all of my information to the AI. Especially in such an age of spiritual warfare and data collection. and surveillance and New World Order is tricky. I don't know, I'm going to end it there. I need the toilet all of a sudden. Alright, thank you very much for watching. Love you all, and yeah, that's it. Just, I feel if more of us are radically honest, then it can help other people, because we're all in the same boat, kind of. And if more of us share more of what we are going through from a radically honest, unfiltered perspective, then more of us can feel more comfortable about what we are going through if anybody can relate. And that's a lot of what my YouTube has always been, is just if anyone can relate to anything I've ever said, then maybe you'll want to know about other things that I've said, and perhaps I can lead you to other like-minded sources that could potentially help you, etc. Anyway, you get the gist. Thank you for watching. I love you. Bye bye.